UKRAINI. That will be the most beautiful day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. It is currently April 19th, 2022, and with that, we will be starting tonight's report for the ongoing crisis in Ukraine. Thank you to everybody that's tuning in this evening to the stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning back in. I see a lot of familiar faces in the live chat, some new people tuning in this evening as well. Again, thank you guys to everybody that is tuning in this evening from many different countries here around the world. We got some people from probably every single country on the planet besides North Korea, I would imagine. Again, everybody that's just tuning in, if you guys could go ahead, hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It's the best way to get notifications when streams go live and when new videos go live. First, we're going to be going through and, as usual, taking a look at all of the main headlines for tonight. We'll also be taking a look at some of the community aggregated reporting over on our Discord server, in the situation room over there on our Discord server. After that, we'll be kind of doing a deep dive into all of the individual reporting from the past 24 hours or so, about the past 12 to 24 hours. We'll be looking at some of those open source intelligence maps that we have come to love so much over the past few months, with very valuable data on a lot of those maps. And so again, we'll be going through and looking at all the strikes that have happened over the past 12 to 24 hours, all of the conflict that's been reported in the past 12 to 24 hours, all of the big news topics. Sir Ben Chicken says, hi from North Korea. Well, I guess that proves me wrong. I guess we do have somebody in here from every country on the planet. B. Shortyman says, hi from Belgium. Hello to you, B. Shortyman. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Smuggies, thank you for tuning in tonight. Veronica, thank you for tuning in. Chef, thank you for tuning in this evening. White Rabbit, nice to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Sir Blue Lagoon, thank you so much for tuning in to the stream this evening. So we got a lot of big headlines tonight. Fancy Hat, thank you so much for tuning in. All of my mods that are tuning in this evening, thank you guys so much for helping out in the live chats this evening and over on the Discord server. Jenny says hello, Nemico from Gulf Shores, Alabama. Thank you so much for tuning in. Kenders, thank you. Says he made it. Thank you for tuning into the stream tonight. Glad you made it. Annette, thank you so much for tuning in. All right, guys, so we're going to kind of jump into, again, our main headline topics for this evening. Really quickly, I am actually running a poll in the YouTube live chat right now. I've set up a very simple community poll there. Basically, the question is, do you think that Russia will be able to capture the Donbass region? At first, when I posted the poll, I actually had two questions in there. Subconsciously, I had added, or will Ukraine repel their attack? I guess the one question of do you think Russia will be able to capture the Donbass region is more fitting for the poll. If you guys haven't yet, go ahead and cast your votes in there. Again, it's just kind of what the community thinks here. So we're running that poll in the YouTube live chat, and at the end of the show, we will look at the results of that poll and see where we're at. Currently, about 44% says yes, while 55% says no. They will not be able to capture the Donbass region. All right, so hopping into our main stories here for this evening. The offensive, the Russian offensive in the east, again, is ramping up. This comes after President Zelensky officially has announced from his side of things, that it looks like Russia has indeed started what they're calling their second phase of the offensive in Ukraine. This comes as reports that Russia is sending in more troops to the region. Some quotes from early reports were that forces are pouring in. Russian forces are pouring in to Ukraine at this time over that eastern border there in the Donbass, in increased numbers than what we've seen over the past week or two here. Again, they've been shuffling around forces inside Russian territory, and now they're really moving a lot of those forces over those borders into the Donbass region. They're heading to the front lines, those contact lines there with the Ukrainian forces. The Russians have taken quite a bit of territory in the east. Kharkiv, of course, is still being contested at this time. Cremenia has fallen to the Russian forces. Again, I'll show you kind of some of the details on that when we hop over onto those maps, and I can kind of show you some of the territory that they've taken in recent days and recent weeks here. Again, they have a pretty significant presence in the east of the country right now. Of course, the Ukrainian defenders are still fighting in, again, areas like Kharkiv and the region surrounding Kharkiv, and of course, east of Cremenia. Again, the Russian forces are now moving into that area. It's again, it's gonna only time will tell if the Russian forces are going to be able to break through those front lines successfully, if they're going to be able to push those Ukrainians back, or if the Ukrainian forces are going to be able to hold their ground. At the moment, in most places, it is looking like the Ukrainian forces are indeed holding their ground. There are some exceptions, though. There are a few towns, a few cities that are currently taking a significant advance from the Russians. Again, it looks like Russia is refitting units, as a Pentagon, an earlier Pentagon report had stated. Again, I'll kind of go into details in that in a second. But it looks like they're not only shuffling around troops there in the east, but they're also refitting troops on Russian territory to then send them back in, resupplying, getting them new equipment, etc., and then sending them back to those front lines there. In the east. In Mariupol, the Ukrainian forces are still holding out in one pocket in the city near the Vostal steel plant there. Earlier, there was Russian strikes on that plant where it's believed that there are civilians currently taking refuge. We're still waiting to get more concrete information on the status of that plant and those civilians that were taking refuge there alongside those Ukrainian forces. However, at this time, it does look like the Russians have kind of closed the gap, so to speak. They've taken control over two of those main areas where the Ukrainians were holding their ground. I'll show you on the maps here in a minute, kind of the details to that. And kind of show you just kind of where they've moved in, and basically the steel plant is the last Ukrainian held ground in Mariupol at this hour. Again, we're still waiting to get more concrete information on those strikes that happened earlier. I know there was some images that hit the news this morning of those fires burning, of that smoke pluming over Mariupol, over the steel plant there. Again, continuing on here, I'm going to kind of go through and dive into each of those things that I just spoke about here, as well as kind of touch on some of the other main headlines for this evening. So again, Ukrainian and Russian leaders have said now, both sides have confirmed now. You have Zelensky, you also have the Russians saying, this new phase of the Russian special operation, so to speak, has begun in the east. Okay, Ukrainian officials dubbed it the Battle of Donbass, the Battle for Donbass, as it's being called. referring to the eastern area, of course, that Moscow had, previously, uh, uh, sorry, referring to the eastern area that Moscow had previously pressed Kiev, to cede to Russian-aligned uh, separatists, of course. So not just it's not the entire geographical Donbass region, but so far, of course, the DPR, the LPR. So that we're speaking to the Luhansk, the Donetsk regions there, and then of course Russia wants to expand that to the geographical Donbass, which is slightly bigger than those regions. The Kremlin, of course, has recognized those two separatist republics, of course, Donetsk, Luhansk, that make up the Donbass. And so that's their primary objective, but also expanding that to kind of the territorial, the geographical borders of the Donbass is important as well. Ukraine's president Vladimir Zelensky said said a substantial part of the Russian army is now involved in the military operation. Luhansk's regional governor said Russian forces captured the town of Cremenia. Rockets and artillery shells fell on multiple Ukrainian cities, with Ukrainian media reporting explosions and air raid sirens across hundreds of miles. Again, we've seen a repeat pattern of those attacks each night. Ukrainian troops were expected soon to receive more heavy weaponry from the U.S. and NATO in the form of artillery, helicopters, drones, and armored vehicles. The Pentagon said Russia's limited offensive operations so far in the east are prelude to larger operations. Broader attacks is what they're saying is possible here. Again, I'll speak a little bit more kind of into the more specifics of that in a minute here, but basically, they're saying, they're a prelude to larger operations. The Russian military continued to add battalion tactical groups into the region, something the U.S. sees as, again, Russia's attempt to avoid repeating its mistakes from the start of the invasion, speaking to, what happened in and around Kiev. Including lack of food, fuel, ammunition, munitions of like artillery, etc., and other supplies. A senior U.S. defense official said that Russia is now focusing on a more limited region and has spent significant time building up substantial supplies. Again, speaking to that more broader Donbass region, the geographical borders of the Donbass, we believe at this time is his primary goal. And then, of course, Mariupol connecting down with that land bridge to Zaporizhia and, more importantly, Crimea. It remains to be seen if they're able to capture all of these objectives, and possibly if they look to push forward east, maybe even along the southern coast to Odessa. Again, we're keeping a close eye on that situation as it develops. Moving on here, the next phase, again, of peace talks remain uncertain. Ukraine's lead negotiator, Mikhailo Podolyak, said it was hard to predict when talks might resume because of the continued siege of Mariupol. And, of course, the new offensive that is taking place in the Donbass. Russia has accused Ukraine of undermining the talks with changing their demands. Again, so speaking to the buildup of Russian troops in the Donbass region in the east, Russia, of course, pouring more troops into the DPR, the LPR, so those two breakaway regions over the past 24 to 48 hours. Of course, we have the satellite images of those forces moving across the border, basically being reshuffled around within Russian territory, then being moved across the border there. The eastern cities of Kharkiv and Kramatorsk came under deadly attacks in the past 24 to 48 hours. Russia also said it struck areas around Zaporizhia and Dnipro west of the Donbass with missiles. Multiple explosions were heard early Wednesday in the southern city of Mykolaiv, and the regional governor had said a hospital was reportedly shelled earlier in the nearby town of Bashatanka. In Mariupol, the now devastated port city of the Donbass, Ukrainian troops said the Russian military was dropping heavy bombs to flatten what was left of a sprawling steel plant. Of course, speaking to those images that came out earlier today. Ireland's defense minister calls on Russia to agree to an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. Ireland's Minister for Foreign Affairs and Minister of Defense called on Russia to agree to an immediate humanitarian ceasefire and asked the UN Security the UN Security Council to find a way to stop the war. Simon Korenevi told Tuesday's UN briefing on the humanitarian situation in Ukraine that he had just visited the country and had seen the devastation in Bucha. Quote from that report: "The only weapons that we have are diplomacy, dialogue, facts, collective leadership, and most importantly, a shared commitment to international law and the UN Charter. As it was on February 25th, so it is today. This is a war of choice, and it can end immediately if President Putin decides so." Another quote from that report there: "This is madness that history will judge very harshly. We have to find a way to stop this war, and this council has a unique responsibility to do that." Communication has been restored with the Chernobyl nuclear power station, says the International Atomic Energy Association. This came Wednesday. Direct communications between the International Atomic Energy Association and the Chernobyl nuclear power plant was restored late Tuesday, according to a press statement from the International Atomic Energy Association's Director General Rafael Mariano. That came Wednesday. Russian forces held Chernobyl for 5 weeks before withdrawing on March 31st. The International Atomic Energy Association lost contact with the nuclear plant site on March 10th. Again, we saw those spikes in radiation when they first headed into the zone. A quote from that report: "This was clearly not a sustainable situation, and it is very good news that the regulator can now contact the plant directly when it needs to," Grossi said in a statement. The statement added that a mission of IAEA experts plans to visit the site later this month to conduct a nuclear safety, security, and radiological assessments, deliver vital equipment, and repair the agency's remote safeguard monitoring systems. Of course, those monitoring systems were knocked offline by the Russians when they moved into the exclusion zone. I guarantee we'll most likely get some more information about what waste containment facilities were damaged and what radiation levels were like and are like now in the zone post the, after the Russians now have moved out of the area. A U.S. ambassador to the UN calls on organization to step up response to the Ukraine refugee crisis. U.S. Ambassador, again, to the United Nations, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, on Tuesday called on the organization to step up in response to the massive refugee crisis triggered by Russia's war in Ukraine. A quote from that: "Every day I'm asked, is the Security Council irrelevant to this crisis?" Said Greenfield at the meeting there, the UN Security Council. The full quote from that is: "We know that the world is looking to the UN and wondering how to respond in the wake of Russia's unconsolable actions. Supporting refugees and the countries taking them in is one of the most powerful and immediate ways that we can help, and it is so important that the UN plays a key role in that." Greenfield called on her fellow nations on the Council to show the world what we have, that was a quote, "learned from decades of addressing refugee crises and humanitarian situations, and support not only the Ukrainians but also third country nationals fleeing the war." Again, speaking to Russians as well as Ukrainians. She also said they must make sure that to take steps to mitigate the risk of women and children facing trafficking or gender-based violence. Zelensky says the situation in Mariupol remains brutal and unchanged. Again, those were his words there. Russia will be marked as a source of evil for targeting civilians, again said Zelensky in a video address on Tuesday. Quote from that report, he said, "Forever, the Russian army will be written in history as the most barbaric and inhumane army in the world," Zelensky said the targeted killing of civilians and destruction of residential buildings with all kinds of weapons, including those that are forbidden by international conventions. This is just a trademark of the Russian army, and this will truly mark the Russian Federation as the source of evil. The intensity of Russian fire towards the regions of Kharkiv and Donbass has significantly increased, said Zelensky. In Mariupol, the situation remains brutal and unchanged. Zelensky said he claimed that Russian forces are blocking corridors to evacuations from Mariupol. Zelensky added that he had signed a decree to honor Ukrainian armed forces defending Mariupol. Zelensky met with members of parliament to recommend the extension of martial law in Ukraine. It is very important to ensure stable activities at all of the borders, was his statement there to that. A Ukrainian-born U.S. lawmaker has recounted visiting the war-torn homeland. Quote from them was, "The destruction was just unbelievable." Republican from Indiana, again, who is the first Ukrainian-born member of the U.S. Congress, that's Representative Victoria Spartz, described her recent visit to the war-torn homeland of Ukraine. She said, "I grew up in Chernihiv originally, big part of my life, and I have to tell you, the city is heroic to hold the ground for over a month and really helped to save Kiev. But the destruction was just unbelievable. Most villages almost burned to the ground." The Ukrainian-American lawmaker said that 70% of the city of Chernihiv was left in destruction, and many people survived without basic necessities. The U.S., again, is preparing another $800 million security assistance package for Ukraine. This has been reported from multiple sources now over the past 24 to 48 hours. The U.S. is preparing another $800 million security assistance package for Ukraine, according to 3 senior administration officials and 2 sources familiar with the planning. Details of the latest package were still being discussed and could change. But earlier Tuesday, U.S. President Joe Biden said the U.S. plans to send more artillery to Ukraine. A Ukrainian commander requests international evacuation effort at Mariupol plant as the situation is, quote, critical. Major Serhiy Volna, commander of Ukraine's 36th Separate Marine Brigade, spoke by phone with reporters from the besieged city of Mariupol Tuesday evening and requested that a third country provide evacuation for troops and civilians trapped in the Azovstal steel plant under heavy Russian bombardment. I have a statement to the world. Again, this is the quote that he made there. I have a statement to the world, Volny said. It may be my last statement because we have only a few days or even hours left. We appeal to the world leaders to apply the extraction procedure to the military of the Mariupol garrison. To the civilians who are with us here at the plant, we ask you to take us to the territory of a third country and provide us with security. Again, Ukrainian forces inside the besieged city have consolidated around that massive Azovstal steel factory. Ukrainian officials have said hundreds of civilians are sheltering in the basements of the massive steel works. Mariupol police official told reporters food and water supplies were dwindling amid heavy bombardment. Asked how an evacuation might be facilitated, Volny said, this should be at the level of agreements. If we talk about practical application, it could be a ship with helicopters, for example, that could pick us up, or an international humanitarian mission that can come to us and guarantee our security and accompany us on the way to the state that will make such commitments. Again, thank you to everybody that is tuning in this evening. We're just going over the main headlines for this evening. Some of our top news stories from about the past 12 to 24 hours here. A top U.S. general held a virtual meeting with U.S. allies about ongoing Russian invasion in Ukraine. General Mark Miley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, held a virtual meeting with several U.S. allies on Tuesday. The military leaders shared assessments of the ongoing Russian invasion of Ukraine, including multilateral security assistance to help Ukraine regain and defend their sovereignty. A readout of the meeting from spokesperson Colonel Dave Butler said the call included leaders from Australia, Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, Sweden, Turkey, and the United Kingdom. Miley urged allies to continue to expedite additional military assistance to Ukraine and reaffirmed the importance of engagements with allies and partners to meet urgent needs for Ukraine. Again, it comes as that $800 assistance package is heading into Ukraine as well. Again, confirming we had, the question has been brought up a few times this week. Is the U.S. sending diplomats to Ukraine? Is the U.S. sending Biden to Ukraine? Will Biden, visit Kiev? They did come out with a statement today saying that U.S. President Joe Biden. Uh, in fact, he made this statement himself. He told reporters in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, Tuesday that he is not sure if he will travel to Ukraine. Again, the direct quote here: "The answer is I don't know." He said, "I've been to Ukraine many times, just haven't been there recently." Over the past 24 hours, Ukrainian forces have repelled numerous Russian attempted advances in the Donbass. Again, that comes from a UK Defense Intelligence report. Uh, Again, there was a report yesterday that I brought to you guys last night that said that there had been over 100 separate bombardments, strikes, and uh, uh, you know uh, exchanges of fire along the Donbass region, along the front lines in that region in just the past 24 hours. Again, that was from yesterday's reports. That was that previous 24 hours. And that's, again, the same day that Zelensky came out and said, that second phase had begun in the Donbass. In a statement again earlier from the Pentagon, Ukraine has gotten additional aircraft and aircraft parts to increase their fleet size. Um, Again, they have received additional fighter aircraft from other countries, not including the U.S. Um, Quite a few countries, I believe, that have provided either aircraft or aircraft parts or assistance to Ukraine at this time. Again, as well as additional parts again to allow them to get more planes in the air to run these repairs on some of these planes as well. A quote from that report. Again, this came from Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby saying, "I would just say, without getting into what other nations are providing, that they have received additional platforms and parts to be able to increase their fleet size, their aircraft fleet size. I think I'd leave it at that," said John Kirby. There's also been reports, again, I'll probably get to those here in a few moments, of Ukraine's requests to have assistance in repair of some of this military hardware. Again, I believe I have a report here on my list that I'll read off in just a few minutes that kind of goes into some detail on that. Ukrainians dismiss claims made by Russian Defense Ministry of opening evacuation corridors around the Avastal. Again, speaking to that steel plant there in Mariupol. The Russian Ministry of Defense issued a statement Tuesday claiming that Russian forces had opened an evacuation corridor around the besieged Avastal steel plant in Mariupol. Again, a claim dismissed by Ukrainian police officials on the scene. Quote from that saying, "Given the catastrophic situation that has developed at the Avastal metallurgical plant in the city of Mariupol, and also guided by purely humane principles, from 1400 hours on April 19th, 2022, the Russian armed forces opened a humanitarian corridor for the withdrawal of Ukrainian military personnel who voluntarily laid down their arms and militants of nationalist formations." Again, that was that statement there from the Russians. For this purpose, a ceasefire mode has been introduced, Any hostilities that have been stopped. Units of the Russian armed forces and the formations of the Donetsk People's Republic along the entire perimeter of the Avastal have been withdrawn to a safe distance. The statement also repeated a call for Ukrainian forces to surrender, quote, realizing that the commanders of Ukraine units may not receive such orders and commands from Kiev authorities. We urge them to make the decision on their own and lay down their arms. Again, I'll go into more detail about the situation there in Mariupol when we hop over into the live UA map. You can kind of get a good idea of kind of the situation there on the ground and how that territory has kind of shifted over the past 12 to 24 hours here or so. So moving on here, another hot topic from this week that we had reported on earlier in the week. I believe this was even from last week's news. The chemical attack that possibly unfolded in Mariupol earlier today. Again, a Pentagon release said there is no evidence that Russia has used chemical weapons in Ukraine at this time. Asked about the reports of the Russian military using chemical weapons in Ukraine, Pentagon Press Secretary, again, John Kirby, told reporters Tuesday that the U.S. has seen, quote, no evidence to confirm the reports. The comments come as reports have surfaced, of course, over the last week that there was evidence of a chemical attack in Ukraine, in Mariupol, in the city there. It also comes as Japan announced Tuesday it was shipping equipment to Ukraine aiming at protecting against a potential chemical attack. Again, initially it was speculated that it could have been a crowd dispersal agent that was mixed with maybe a more volatile chemical compound to make it, more effective. Or it could have also been. There's speculation it could have possibly been a phosphorus agent or even a nerve agent. Again, there's been multiple conflicting reports. However, the Pentagon at this time has no evidence that there was a chemical attack that unfolded there in Mariupol. However, only time will tell, as again, it is a evolving war zone, a battle that is unfolding there in Ukraine. Again, speaking to Russia's refitting of units, um, uh, in a report earlier today, a senior U.S. defense official on Tuesday warned that Russia is again still refitting units and tactical groups to continue to enter the country. Again, as Moscow looks to target eastern Ukraine now. They've been reshuffling around those forces there, but we have seen the evidence that they are not just moving forces around within Russian territory and then moving them into the Donbass, but they're going in with renewed supply chain, in some cases some newer gear, and as well as a renewed command infrastructure as well, which is I think important here for us to note. Again, they're still refitting units outside of Ukraine for insertion into Ukraine. They have added, over the last 24 hours, another 2 battalion tactical groups into the country. Again, that senior U.S. defense official told reporters, noting there are now 78 operational battalion tactical groups. Again, those are abbreviated BTGs in Ukraine. Again, those defense officials have assessed that Russia has maintained roughly 75% of its original combat fighting force from when it first amassed along Ukraine's borders in the lead up to the invasion. Again, that lead up coming from many months and almost a year actually before this invasion has begun, that they've been moving these forces around. 7 hours ago, Ukrainians mourned the humanity stolen by Russian forces. Again, as those vicious attacks have been carried out in many different areas around Ukraine, and we've seen some of these horrific images coming out of places like Bucha and many of those towns around Kiev. There's been a lot of reports over the past few days here, as they are cleaning up now in a lot of these areas, finding more bodies. The death count is increasing. The numbers of unexploded ordnance that has been left behind is increasing. Again, that's an uphill battle for the Ukrainians, having to clean up in the wake of these Russian forces as they move out of Ukraine. Earlier, again, this came from earlier today. A video posted on the Telegram channel of Ukraine's Azov regiment on Tuesday appears to show one of its fighters destroying a Russian vehicle in Mariupol. That came from a report from Reuters. Sorry. The soldier leans out from behind a building before taking aim with an anti-tank weapon. I believe it was an NLAW that was used, if I'm not mistaken, and that struck a Russian BTR armored personnel carrier. Again, the news agency Reuters reports. You can hear a voice towards the end of the video sound out the word yes. I believe that video is in live UA map. If not, I can probably pull it up when we hop over into live UA map to take a look at some of those individual reports. Again, Ukraine asks NATO, again, and this was kind of continuing from that report a few minutes ago about the aircraft situation in Ukraine. Ukraine has now asked NATO countries for help with repairing damaged military equipment. The Czech Republic, which is part of NATO, announced Tuesday that local companies will help Ukraine repair military equipment damaged in the fight against the Russian army. Its defense ministry said the first contract will focus on fixing T-64 Soviet-era tanks and various armored vehicles of BRD and BRDM types to follow. The Czech Republic was the first partner country officially approached by Ukraine with such a request. Again, so this comes as they're not just looking to get some new hardware into the country, but they're looking to get some of that hardware repaired. Some of the stuff that they've captured from the Russians, some of the stuff that they've had but has been damaged. Again, they're looking to get that stuff repaired and back in the theater of combat. I would add to that, I think it remains to be seen, if Russia is going to strike back against some of the countries, maybe choose to retaliate against countries that choose to aid Ukraine in fixing some of this military equipment. So that is always a concern, and we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. In a report earlier today, two Ukraine volunteers who say they spent 3 weeks in Russian captivity are now opening up about their harrowing experience, describing the beatings and conditions they allegedly suffered as a nightmare come to life. Vladimir Korempun and Yulia Inakanovka were working for the Red Cross and helping people flee villages along the front lines in northern Ukraine when they were captured by Russian military in March, according to Reuters. On April 9th, after spending some time in Belarus and in detention centers in Russia, they were freed as part of a prisoner swap. A quote from that report, he said, it was like a nightmare come to life, recalling how he and Ivanovka were held with around 40 others in a unheated room at a former factory in Daimir, north of Kiev, sharing a plastic pot for a toilet. Russia, again, adding to that report earlier about those evacuation corridors. Russia says evacuation corridors open for Mariupol, but Ukraine says 4 have been killed while trying to flee. Again, Russia on Tuesday claimed it had opened those humanitarian corridors for soldiers who voluntarily surrendered from Mariupol's Azovstal steel plant, as well as civilians that were looking to escape in that area. Again, that was the site of refuge and resistance for those Ukrainian fighters, speaking to that Azovstal steel plant there. Taking into account the catastrophic situation at the Azovstal metallurgical plant in the city of Mariupol, as well as being guided purely by humane principles. Again, that's that quote by the Russian armed forces there that I believe I read off for you guys a few moments ago. The claim comes just hours after Moscow set a deadline for noon local time, 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, calling on all forces bunkered in the Azovstal iron and steel works plant to surrender. Without exception, without any weapons, and without ammunition. Again, but Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Iryna Venensyuk said that there had been no such agreement made with the Russian forces and noted that 4 people were killed while trying to evacuate Mariupol on Tuesday. Again, a very unfortunate situation that is unfolding there in the east. So really quickly speaking again a little bit more to that Pentagon report of, again, they're kind of suspect here that that this Russian offensive that's taking out, that's underway here is possibly a prelude to a larger operation, possibly even in the west of Ukraine again. However, At this time, it still looks like they're mainly trying to take those objectives in the east. That's their primary concern, is taking those objectives in the east, the Donbass, Mariupol, and those areas. Russian forces, again, have begun a limited offensive in the southwest of Donetsk and the south of Izium. Again, they took Cremenia as well as a few other towns and areas. They have taken some ground. I'll show you that on live UA map here in just a moment. A new movement that aligns with Western intelligence, that the Kremlin would shift its focus away from Ukraine's capital in Kiev. Again, that's consistent. We think, these offensives, and this is a quote again from that report, we think these offensives are preludes to a larger offensive operation that the Russians plan to conduct, said the defense official, who spoke on the condition of anonymity, of course, in order to share new details from the Pentagon's assessment of the war. The official added that the U.S. has observed some ground offensives, including some long-range fires and artillery bombardment. The official also said that it is not all of Russia's troops that have redeployed to the fight in Ukraine, noting that some Russian units are still resupplying. Again, consistent with the other reports that I had earlier. Again, adding to that $800 million assistance package earlier, there was some reiteration here. I think it needed to be made. The U.S. again is looking to send more artillery units and artillery munitions to Ukraine. We're still waiting to get more details on the specifics of how many of those units are going on this second batch. But again, we'll have more information for you guys probably within the next day or two on that. Some news here. The IMF. The IMF says Russia's war in Ukraine will severely set back global economy. Again, that comes from the International Monetary Fund. There's already been estimates of contraction, not just for the Russian government, but for the not just for the Russian economy, but for the Ukrainian economy and Western economies as well. Again, the IMF cuts global growth forecasts on Russia. Again, citing the war. They are currently projecting about a 3.6% GDP rate for the global economy this year and for 2023. So it's definitely looking, like there is some economic contraction here because of the ongoing war in Ukraine. So again, that basically concludes tonight's main headlines. Now we're going to switch over into the individual reports. Really quickly, I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I think that's about it. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to switch over now to our live UA map. And I'm going to go through all those reports for you guys from about the past 24 hours or so here. So we'll hop over to our pointer screen. Again, I'll be making some changes to the stream layouts and stuff moving forward. I know there's still quite a bit that we have yet to implement, and we've been kind of making improvements, in bursts here and there. So again, you can expect more of those improvements coming in the days and weeks ahead. All right, so I think what we're going to do here is we'll, again, scroll down to as far as live UA map will take us. Go right down here to about a day ago. So right at about a day ago, so right at the 24-hour mark here. Again, this source is reported here on live UA map to be state-funded media. Again, that could be Russian media. That could be another form of state-funded media. This report saying the governor of Belgorod region reports shelling in the Golovincho village near the border of Ukraine. That's not in Ukraine. That is on Russian territory. So that is definitely concerning. This comes as we've seen increases in the threat levels in these areas of Russia. They've come out with press releases over the past week or so here. Again, possibly there's two things to note of this. A, they could be building some narrative here. That's definitely something we have to keep an eye on. And also, they could just be responding to possible attacks from the Ukrainians. So it could be that the Ukrainians are actually putting up, um, are not so much putting up a fight, but are bringing the fight now to the Russians on their own territory. 20 hours ago, Ukrainian military repelled Russian offensives in the Rubizin and Popsana. You can see that here on the map in the east of the country. Really quickly here to note, again, you can see the Russian forces have really started to move down here. And Cremenia here, again, has been now taken over by those Russian forces. Has been consumed. And then for Mariupol here, of course, from early reports this week, you would have noticed we had kind of a pocket of resistance here and a pocket of resistance here, over here. And now those have all been closed up. And the last pocket of Ukrainian resistance is the Avastal steel plant here in the center. So this is the only chunk of Ukrainian territory currently held in Mariupol at this time. That has been confirmed now, that basically the Russian forces have consumed all of this territory here, and that the Avastal steel mill here is basically the last place they have to hold out. 20 hours ago, Russian troops shelled Zelodolsk community with MLRS Grad. Only material damage was caused, so thankfully no casualties. You can see the source post for that again. That is in Ukrainian, I believe, there. 19 hours ago, Russian troops shelled Orkhariv. I'll get this up on the map, actually, for you guys here. Also in the east of the country. They shelled up Brazinka of the Polohy district, with MLRS Grad. A 14-year-old girl was wounded. Russian artillery shelled Stepny and the Malakolinivka villages of Zaporizhia district. Again, that was at the 19-hour ago mark. At 19 hours ago here, destruction in Kharkiv as a result of overnight shelling. There's also a image of that here. You can see that what looks to be a residential building has been destroyed there. You can see some of the walls toppled over onto the road. 19 hours ago, Russian troops continue shelling at the Mariinka, Edivirivka, and the Ocheretini directions in Donetsk region. Again, there is another image I can show there. There's a shell there on the ground. There's what looks to be a bit of an exploded round here. As well as an impact crater there and some damage to a building. You can see there's some of the residents and what looks to be some kind of official there doing some assessment on the damage there at those buildings. 19 hours ago, Ukrainian military foiled 2 Russian advance attempts in Edivivka area as a result of artillery shelling. 1 civilian killed, gas pipe, and several houses were damaged in those strikes. 19 hours ago here, photos from damage in the Golovinichino village, the Greveron district of Belgrade. Again, that's on the Russian territory there. We can get images. That's apparently an image from that Russian territory that got struck there, which came from that Russian social media platform VK. You can see in that watermark there. 19 hours ago, Ukrainian military repelled Russian advance attempts near the Oleksedrivka of Kherson region. Again, here as those Russians are looking to maybe push a little bit farther east. Those Ukrainians are putting a stop to that. 19 hours ago, clashes ongoing at the Poly district of Zaporizhia region. You can see that here on the map. And those AK-47s there, those rifles there you see on the map are where those reports are being, or basically that conflict is going on, is reportedly going on. 19 hours ago, drone footage overlooking the Avestal Iron and Steelworks plant from this morning shows a very battered Mariupol. Of course, I was speaking about this footage a minute ago. And you can see the smoke rising from a few different areas in Mariupol there, including but not limited to the steel factory there, the steel mill. You can see a lot of those buildings are just absolutely destroyed. Again, so that's that footage there coming from that drone overlooking the Avestal Iron and Steelworks plant from this morning. Again, shows not just strikes being taken out, but shows the broader scale of the damage there to those buildings in Mariupol. 19 hours ago, widespread damage in Mykolaiv after shelling overnight. Again, another video of that damage here I can bring up for you guys. You can see impact craters there. Some damage to some buildings and their foundations, it seems. 19 hours ago, a produce store destroyed as a result of Russian shelling at Saladivivka. You can see that here near Kharkiv. 19 hours ago, an Orlan 10 drone shot down over Odessa this morning. Again, those Russians really like their Orlan 10 drones. We've seen the unboxing videos there from some of our favorite Ukrainian YouTubers. Uh, 19 hours ago, Russian army is shelling the villages of Staromorsk, Makarivka, and quite a few others on there as well, with MLRS Grad attacking with armored personnel carriers and infantry missiles. Again, there's some pictures there that are notable. If it'll let me bring those up. You can see the reports on the map there that I just showed you. You can see the ground torn up here from those impact craters. There's an impact crater here. "18 hours ago, blackout in Luhansk region after power lines were damaged in shelling." So another thing to note here is that one of our cameras, our ski cam, one of our Kharkiv ski cameras has gone down. I've got multitude of reports today that the power is most likely out in that region of Kharkiv where that ski cam is. We're still waiting to get more information on that. We're hoping that camera possibly will come back up. 18 hours ago, 3 wounded as a result of shelling in Golovicino, village of Belgrade region. Again, that's on that Russian territory. That's that strike that I was talking about a minute ago. 16 hours ago, suspected tripwire bomb was found in Kiev. Again, a lot of unexploded ordnance has been found in Kiev. Well, it looks like a fragmentation grenade that somebody tied a tripwire to. Interesting solution. 16 hours ago, again, this event is known propaganda displayed for awareness. The Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov announced that the next stage of military operation in Ukraine has begun. Again, that's the official statement there from the Russians on that new offensive. 16 hours ago, parts of Russian missiles have fallen on the zoo in Mykolaiv. Again, you can see some pictures of those missiles there stuck in the ground. This honestly, I mean, I know like not all munitions are created equal, so to speak. Not all munitions are going to detonate upon impact. However, it boggles my mind. Like when I look at this, to me it almost looks like it's thin sheet metal, and I see it sticking in the ground like this, and I'm like, how does it not get just immediately just disintegrated upon impact? Or at least detonate. Interesting, very interesting. And I've seen a lot of these pictures of these Russian missiles just stuck in the ground, not detonating at all. Seen quite a bit of that footage. I know there's some cruise missiles that have like boosters, and possibly that maybe this could be a booster here. I've seen a lot of these photos though of these what looks to be like missile fuselages, unexploded missile fuselages. 16 hours ago here, Hungary doesn't support gas and oil sanctions against Russia. Again, that was a statement by the Hungarian foreign minister there. 16 hours ago, a missile launch at the Zadanivka. You can see a picture of that here. If it'll let me load it, I might have to go to the source here. Yeah, we're going to have to go to the source here, coming from Twitter. Uh, 16 hours ago, a Russian drone was found in the Chernihiv district. Again, not sure if that's an Orlan 10 or if that was a separate drone. Nope, this is definitely a separate drone from that Orlan 10. It looks like a surveillance drone here. 16 hours ago, Prime Minister Morawiecki in Lviv says, I appeal to the European Commission for the Solidarity Fund for Ukraine to start working and for new money to appear. There is nothing to wait for. No more crimes should be allowed to occur. Today's sanctions must be as strong as possible. Again, you can see an image there. I'm pretty sure it's the it's just like the statement that they posted. No, so that image was just of the meeting there. 15 hours ago, Russian army shelling the Seltavika district in Kharkiv. I'll show you that on the map there. There's also a picture for that. You can see some what looks to be some smoke rising from a building there. Unstinkable actually sent over a few other pictures of some of these missiles, some of these missile fuselages sticking in the ground. Thank you for that, Unstinkable. Here's one here, guys, of a missile stuck in the asphalt, so that not just in the ground, but stuck right into the pavement. Here's one in somebody's bathroom, as you can see there. And here is part of one in somebody's apartment. In fact, you can see the guy's battle station there. He has his computer desk. I don't know if this kind of helps put it in perspective for you guys, but these are people here. These are Ukrainian people. This guy probably liked to sit down every night and go on YouTube or maybe play a couple games on his computer there. And now there's a missile fuselage sitting through the roof. And that could have gone a lot worse if this was this might be like a booster on a missile, or this could just be an unexploded ordnance. However, this man was very lucky to not have been hurt, or very lucky that that wasn't a actual live munition that could have exploded there. Again, I think it's kind of pictures like these. Yeah, somebody asked duds. That remains to be seen. I think there are some. I think there are some like boosters that that are used on these rockets. That could be possibly what these are, or it could just be duds. Yeah. 14 hours ago. Oh, actually, hold on. I got auto refreshed there. Here, let me go back down and get back to where we were here. Yeah, 15 hours ago, there are fatalities as a result of Russian shelling in Kharkiv. Again, over the past 24 to 48 hours, there's been quite a bit of shellings there. 14 hours ago, 76 Ukrainians released in fifth prisoner swap with Russia. Came from the vice prime minister. 13 hours ago, Netherlands says it will send Ukraine armored vehicles. Root says allies are looking at spending more heavy material, sending more heavy material to Ukraine. Again, after that phone call with Zelensky. 13 hours ago, Greece has seized a Russian oil tanker off the island of Avia as part of the European Union sanctions imposed on Moscow over its invasion of Ukraine, the Greek Coast Guard said on Tuesday. Again, you can see the boat there. 13 hours ago, 3 residents of Kharkiv were killed, 21 injured in the Russian shelling of the city on April 19th. Preliminary information from the head Synabahuov, Dernachiv, and Chernobyl districts were also shelled. Emergency crews work in enhanced mode. 12 hours ago, Ukraine war pushing inflation higher globally will last, quote, much longer than previously expected. Again, I reported on that statement by the IMF a little while ago here. 12 hours ago, Russian plane dropped powerful aerial bomb on the hospital near the Avestal steelworks plant there. Again, that comes in Mariupol there, where that strike landed. 12 hours ago, a hall filled with pensioners in the occupied village of Razakovka in the Zaporizhia Oblast voted to join the Donetsk People's Republic. 11 hours ago, the President of the United States had a video call with the world leaders on the war in Ukraine. It ended at 11:21 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, according to the White House. 11 hours ago, President Zelensky asked Verkhovna Rada to extend martial law again for another 30 days in the country. It comes as they look to further secure their borders. 11 hours ago, Czech defense companies will repair Ukrainian tanks and other military vehicles that have been damaged in fighting or need servicing after long-term storage, the Czech Defense Ministry said on Tuesday. Again, I reported on that a little while ago as well. 11 hours ago here, Finland is shipping a third military aid shipment to Ukraine. No details are provided about the contents of the shipment, but equipment sent has been coordinated with Ukraine to fit their needs. 11 hours ago, a truck driver killed in Stoyanivka near Irpin as a result of a landmine explosion. Again, I'm not sure if that video has any violent content here. I'll check really quick, and if not, I'll be able to show you guys that video. I believe it's on Telegram here.
Друзі, на жаль, сьогодні трагічна подія в Ірпіні. Попереджали всіх, що...
Okay, so I can go ahead and show you guys a snippet of that here. Again, that truck destroyed by that explosion.
Попереджали всіх.
Again, that truck driver was killed in that strike, unfortunately. 10 hours ago here, Russian troops shelled the Bashetayanka in Mykolaiv region. Again, you can see that here on the map. 10 hours ago, the U.S. sees Russia carrying out a preload to a larger expected offensive operations in eastern Ukraine, says a U.S. official. Again, I reported on that a short while ago and kind of went into some in-depth on that. 10 hours ago, Ukrainian military repelled a Russian offensive at Maryanika and regained full control over the village in that area. Again, that's in the lower east, kind of in the south. Actually, I would say that's in central Ukraine here, near the Donetsk Oblast. 10 hours ago, Justin Trudeau, in a statement, said, "We're imposing new sanctions on 14 close associates of the Russian government, including Putin's 2 adult daughters. We will not relent in holding people accountable for their complicity in Russia's attacks on Ukraine." 10 hours ago, U.S. officials say 7 planes will head to Europe within 24 hours to transport weapons to Ukraine. Again, as that more aid, more lethal aid heads into the country from the U.S., another $800 million spending package has been put together for that aid. 10 hours ago, German Chancellor says we will continue to support Ukraine financially and militarily. 9 hours ago, the German Chancellor, in another statement, said we agreed with our partners to provide Ukraine with long-range artillery. That comes as not just Germany is looking to send in artillery, but a few other countries are looking to send in both the artillery units themselves and the munitions, the artillery munitions themselves as well. 9 hours ago, Putin bears responsibility for the war crimes in Ukraine, says that German Chancellor. 9 hours ago, Russian troops planted a lot of landmines at the highway between the Nadaparansky and the Olek Shenrivka in the Kherson region there. Again, that's in the south. You can see that located on that map there. At 9 hours ago here, one policeman was killed, 2 wounded as a result of a grenade and shooting attack in Lysychansk, again in the east there. 8 hours ago, 3 killed today as a result of Russian shelling today in Kramatorsk, Adivivka, and Bladadante of the Donetsk region. 5 more wounded, including 1 child, again here in the east of the country. 8 hours ago, Russian army shelled Kharkiv with MLRS Uragan. 4 people killed and 14 were unfortunately wounded in those strikes. Again, let's see if I can bring up that picture there. You can see a damaged building there and what looks to be a war crimes prosecutor there on the scene to investigate. Eight hours ago, Biden says we will send more artillery weapons to Ukraine. Again, that comes with those other statements that were made. 8 hours ago, explosions were reported at Kherson Airport. I actually had gotten reports of this when it had first came out, when that news had first dropped. Again, you can see an image of the fire from that burning off in the distance. Seven hours ago, per Boris Johnson, the UK is looking at the possibility of mounting brimstone anti-ship missiles on Technicals, a militarized pickup truck, as part of British military support to Ukraine. Again, looking to further the lethal aid being sent into Ukraine, doing what they can there in the UK to provide the Ukrainians with possibly some more tools for them to, again, aid and help repelling this Russian aggression in the country. 7 hours ago, shelling on the border of Kherson and the Dnipropetrovsk regions continued through the day. No casualties, luckily, have been reported yet. Again, you can see that on the map where that is located. 7 hours ago, shelling targeted the Toretsk town here in the east of the country. 7 hours ago, Canada here to send heavy artillery to Ukraine. So as I mentioned earlier, not just the U.S., not just Germany sending artillery, but many other countries are selling, not just sending the artillery pieces themselves, but the munitions they need for the artillery. The Prime Minister made the announcement at an event in New Brunswick today. He said more details will be provided in the coming days. 7 hours ago, a readout from the White House of the President of the United States, a call on the war of Ukraine. Again, that call happened earlier. 7 hours ago, a small number of Ukraine military will be trained by U.S. on how to operate howitzers. That will happen in Europe, says a Pentagon press secretary. It says the training will happen soon, but has not yet started. Another report from 7 hours ago here. The Pentagon says we will provide Ukraine with 18 artillery systems soon. So that's, I believe, 18 separate artillery units, pieces of artillery there. 7 hours ago, the Pentagon press secretary said, just now, Ukraine have received additional aircraft and aircraft parts to help them get more aircraft in the air. 6 hours ago here, Joint Forces operation, 12 tanks, a plane, and a helicopter were destroyed today in clashes in the Donbass. Again, in the east here, you can see that report and where those clashes purportedly took place. 6 hours ago, Outgoing shelling from Donetsk, and there's actually a video of that I can get up for you guys here of that outgoing shelling. Again, that video is not very clear, but you could see one of those, what looked to be one of those outgoing rockets there. 5 hours ago, a meeting in the Rosaivka village will appeal to occupation authorities in parts of Donetsk region was gathered with deception, says the regional administration. You can see where that meeting purportedly took place there. 5 hours ago here, shelling again in Adivika. There are fires in the city at this time. Again, that was only 5 hours ago those fires were reported. Another report from 5 hours back here. U.S. President Joe Biden is expected to announce within the coming days another military aid package for Ukraine about the same size as the $800 million one announced last week. Multiple sources familiar with the decision said on Tuesday. Again, comes as they're looking to up the ante when it comes to how much lethal aid they are sending into the country. Our last post here from 5 hours ago, Russian troops shelled a hospital in Bashtanka, Mykolaiv region. That was 5 hours ago here. You can see on here, I believe there's a source for that. From Telegram, you can see that building is effectively destroyed, unfortunately. So that wraps up our individual reports here coming in from live UA map tonight. I was going to switch over into our situation room next. However, I think I'm going to save that for tomorrow. I think what we'll do now is really quick. I'm just going to take some Q&A from the live chat. If you guys have any questions you want to ask, I can go through those, and I'll also kind of read some of your comments. What Me Worry says, heavy artillery from Canada? Lol, we have fishing boats and cruisers. I'm pretty sure Canada's military has, probably a few pieces of artillery that the Ukrainians could borrow for a little while. Demented Chaos says, I always thought wartime did the economy good. It depends on how significant the war is. Some people think about World War II and kind of the boom of the military industrial factories at the time and all the jobs that were created. But I think the downside from the collateral damage which is produced and the loss of life that is produced, I guess that could be argued that it's just not worth it in comparison at all. Demented Chaos asks, has there been any update on Finland and Sweden's progress on NATO membership? At this time, we're still waiting to get more concrete information on that. However, they are looking to fast track, so to speak, into NATO. We're going to have to wait to see on two things. A, if that goes through, and B, what the retaliatory response will be from Russia. Mad Mike says that equipment must be for defending the East after this big Donbass battle is done. Possibly. I think they're sending in weapons now because they know that the Ukrainians are going to need them to hold the Donbass. I don't think it's for after this. I think that equipment is actively being sent in, to help the Ukrainians in their fight there in the East. This is going to be a lot different fight. A lot of people aren't realizing this, but this fight's going to be a lot different in the fact that the terrain is different, and so a lot of the manpad, a lot of the anti-tank guided munition, shoulder fire anti-tank weapon systems that they have there are not going to be in play or as effective. And so again, they're going to resort to things like the Switchblade drones that we've talked about, so they can reach out a little bit farther to some of this Russian hardware. Again, we're going to have to wait and see if that pans out for them. Unstickable says, I've sent you footage of one of those missiles striking pavement and not exploding. I'll take a look at that. Thank you. Is it the S News one? Oh yeah, it is. All right, let's see if we can get this up on screen here for you guys. So here's purportedly wow. There's that video there of that missile literally just hitting the pavement. Yeah, that's crazy to me. That it wouldn't just like disintegrate upon impact, and that it actually like sticks in the pavement like that. Thank you for sending that over, Unstinkable. That's highly appreciated. Bradley Boy says, it's so sad. If nobody would have given them weapons, this war would have been over a long time ago, and so much more people would have not have died. Actually, it's the direct opposite of that, Brad. If nobody would have provided Ukraine with weapons, uh, it's arguable that the Russians would have been able to move on Kiev, and that a lot more people would have died. Okay, a lot more people would have died in the city if the Russians had moved further into the city, because the Ukrainians weren't just going to give it up. You know what I mean? They still had weapons, right? But they would have had a lot less weapons, and it would have meant way more Ukrainian casualties, and arguably in some cases way more Russian casualties. Uh, Metavelli says, "I'm Canadian. We're sending some howitzers." Yeah, well, uh, again, the Canadians definitely have a few howitzers laying around. I'm glad they're sending them over there. Owly says, "Keep in mind, we were selling arms to Europe during World War II. We are giving arms to Ukraine now." Yes, that's very true, Owly. Yeah, we're not selling Ukraine aid. We're handing them aid. We're giving it to them. Tom says, "What do you think about the amount of Russian trolls spamming Twitter with propaganda?" Yes, there's a lot. There's a lot of it. The bots are almost out of control on all platforms over the past month or two here. Yeah, it's been insane on Twitter, and I think that problem is probably just going to get worse as time goes on. Really quickly, I actually have a few. HM Producer actually compiled some questions from Lost Night, and I'm gonna pick a few of those out of there. Um, uh, Boomer Raider asks, when, if at any time, will NATO step up aggressively, Nemico? Uh, Possibly if chemical weapons are used, if biological weapons are used, or if nukes are used. That would be where they draw the line. I believe is if one of those three things were confirmed to have been used. If you're talking chemical, it would have to probably be multiple times or just a very large instance to to trigger that. Uh, Nukes, of course, change the entire dynamic, and so that is always the possibility that that NATO gets involved from that. That's always possible. Smuggies asked, so those Ukrainian forces stay and get surrounded or go back east? I believe you mean west. Uh, this was a question from Lost Night. Again, if you're speaking of the forces in that pocket in the center there, yes, they're probably going to head back west if Russia attempts to encircle them in that area. It could be that that Russia makes that pincer movement, but then Ukraine moves more forces in, and they're able to repel those Russian forces, breaking through to the Ukrainians, that are trapped. However, that's again, we're gonna have to wait and see on how that pans out. Tiger Eye 912 says, "I'd love to see a live UA map side to side comparison from a week ago to the difference, to see the difference for today." Yeah, I'll actually get that. I'll get something together like that maybe for tomorrow or the next day's report. We'll kind of look at maybe a few maps and kind of compare them, how they were before and now. Speedy Squirrel had asked any updates on the radiation levels in Chernobyl. I actually, again, mentioned tonight that the International Atomic Energy Association has regained full contact with the Chernobyl operators at that plant, and that they are going to be updating us on the radiation situation. Epi, thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Glad to see you in the chat there, man. Thank you for tuning in. Again, everybody that's tuned in tonight, thank you guys so much. Preston asks, any updates with Transnistria? No, not at this time. We don't have any updates with that, but there is concern, again, that if those Russian forces continue to move east towards Odessa, that possibly there'll be some involvement from them. Again, that's something that remains to be seen. Rocket Man says, great broadcast. Thank you so much, Rocket Man. Tonight was kind of a quicker broadcast than I'd usually like to. We're only at about an hour and 20 minutes here. I'm probably going to end it at about an hour 30. Usually I like to get about 2 hours in. Tonight's a little bit of I didn't have time to do everything tonight. I wanted to go into the Situation Room and do a few other things this evening. I think we're probably going to save that stuff for tomorrow's report, though. Iraq's Knight said I said lost night again. Unfortunate. I'm gonna have to do better at being conscious of when I say last night versus lost night. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. Christopher Ryan says chemical weapons won't be redlined since they used it in Syria. It's arguable that they would be here. And there's multiple reasons for that. It's because the situation in Syria was different than the situation here in Ukraine. Also, kind of the attention on the world stage to Ukraine is way higher than the attention on the world stage that Syria got. Okay, Ukraine by far is a bigger war than Syria was. And yes, that I do believe there would be a kind of a change in the dynamic if that were to occur. Zequad says, I have like 10 videos in my subs from you that all say they were streamed 1 month ago, but there's one that says it was streamed 52 years ago. I don't think I've been on YouTube for that long. That's interesting, though. Maybe send me a screenshot of that. I'd like to see that. Is that actually a thing? I'll look at that. I see a few people actually mention that. I'll have to look at that. Rocketman asks, Nemico, what happened to more videos? We're working on a ton of videos, ton of them. I release things slowly, but I got literally, I have probably over, I would like to say 300 hours of video content or more coming your guys' way that I have stuff I've worked on before the war that's coming to the channel. I have stuff that we've been working on since the war that's coming to the channel. Some like analysis videos and things like that are coming. So I got a lot of content coming your guys' way. Not just war and reporting and open source intelligence stuff, but I have some other stuff coming your guys' way as well. Santa's neighbor says, thanks now, and I love the hourly anthems. Yep, I finally got the automatic anthems set up so that every hour they sound on the stream. I know tonight I forgot to restart the stream, guys, before I did this report. I'm tired. I've been up for a while. So after I got the stream running, I was having a few technical difficulties there at the start, but I got it figured out. And then once I started, I was like 20 minutes in, and I realized I hadn't restarted my stream. So that I could send out the notifications. But oh well, we'll make it up for it tomorrow. Tomorrow's report. I'm gonna try to do a few new things tomorrow with you guys, and we'll get some maybe some a few changes made in that regard. I ran a poll earlier on the YouTube channel. I'll go ahead and end that now. Actually, hold on. I'm waiting for it to just update here. About 365 votes. We've gotten so far. So I'm going to end the poll now. And it's an equal 50-50% split right down the middle. 365 votes. Actually, it came out. It actually came out. Somebody voted right at the end there, and it came out 49% say that Russia will not be able to take the Donbass region. 50% of people in the chat think that Russia will be able to capture the Donbass region. So that's interesting. Earlier we saw a majority saying that they were not going to be able to capture the Donbass. It looks like the community, again, I ran that poll, 300 out of 365 people that just voted, 50% of them think that Russia will be able to capture the Donbass. 49% think that they will not be able to. So basically, I'd like to call that a 50% split. Really. 1v1, thank you so much for cheering the 300 bits. I highly appreciate it. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Thank you to everybody that is tuning in. Bradley Boy says, I'm tired of the lies from Western media. My sympathies go towards the human beings being slaughtered. I am 100% there with you when it comes to that. Yeah, I believe there's a lot of bullshit on either side of the spectrum, and a lot of false news going around, and a lot of propaganda going around. And I really think the focus needs to be on the humanitarian crisis here, and just not just the civilians dying, but the soldiers that are dying as well. Jethro, thank you so much for tuning in. Says hearing the anthem is always a treat. Yeah, again, as I was saying, I have it on an automated system now, so every hour the anthem plays on the hour now, no delays at all. So you guys don't need to ask me anymore, and I can again, if you guys ever want me to change those time slots, I can do that. I have it set up so the only 2 hours it doesn't sound is 9 and 10 p.m. So it doesn't sound while I'm giving this report, but it should sound at 11 and 12 Eastern. So that would be what time is it now in Ukraine? Let me see here. I got my Ukraine clock, 3:28. Yeah, it's about 3:28 Ukraine time. Actually, no, it says 5. This clock says 5:33. I guess that makes sense, actually. Yeah, it's 5:33 a.m. And then, yeah, our reports usually go from 4 to 6 a.m. So at 6 a.m., you guys will have a anthem, and at 7 a.m., you will have an anthem. Astrid says, thanks for the report. I could stay awake tonight. Yeah, I wish I could stay awake with you guys all day. In fact, I'm planning over the next few days, I'm going to pick a day or two, and we're going to be doing some all-day reports with you guys again. I'll be hanging out with you guys and doing some in-depth exploring and analysis and operating here on the stream. So I can't wait to do some of that. I'll be announcing that in the Discord announcement channel when I get time to do that. Harmita asks, what will it take to push them out of the Donbass? It's going to take a large Ukrainian resistance. They're really going to need to put the damper on Russia's supply chains again. They're going to need to put the pressure on Russia's hardware, the tanks, the APCs that they're going to be moving in there. So hopefully those Switchblade drones will be able to be utilized by those Ukrainian forces. Because they're going to need to reach out to hit a lot of that Russian hardware effectively, as it's wide open terrain. It's not very javelin friendly, so to speak. All right, guys. I think with that, I believe that about concludes our report for tonight. Again, that was our report for Tuesday, April 19th of 2022. If anybody missed this report, it will be uploaded to the YouTube channel later this evening. I know tonight was a kind of a shorter report, and I didn't like to go as in-depth as I wanted to. There's a few things we had to skip out on, but I'll be getting to that tomorrow. We'll make up for it tomorrow, and I'll be doing a few new things. As usual, each night I tried to do a few new things tonight. We were doing some polls there in the chat. I'm going to do another few of those tomorrow. I like doing those polls. I'll continue to kind of bring you guys some of those, kind of get some of that community input there. I think it's very valuable. To anybody that's tuning in on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. If you're looking for any of our the links to any of our sources, you can find those in the description below either the stream or the video, depending on how you're watching this. If you're following along on Twitch, thank you for tuning in tonight. You're awesome. And hit that follow button while you're over there. It's the best way to know when new streams go live. Got a lot of stuff coming down the pipeline for you guys in the coming weeks and days. If you'd like to get updates on everything we're doing, if you'd like to join in on the community discussion, if you'd like to exchange reports with us, if you'd like to send in stuff to us, the best place to do that is over on the Discord server. The link to that is in the description below. It's discord.gg/Nemico. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Every single person that's in here in the chat, I'm reading all your guys' comments. I go back and I read comments sometimes when I get free time. Again, I'm constantly looking to make improvements, not just to the stream, but I'm also making improvements to just kind of the community, just the Discord, the community, the channel as a whole going forward, the reporting, how I deliver kind of these reports to you, making sure I'm not doing things like saying "lost night" or constantly. I'm trying to get better at doing that stuff. So thank you guys for bearing with me. If you guys like this sort of thing, I ask, the best way to support the channel is just to hit that subscribe button or share. Simply share the videos, the streams. That's the best way to support us. If you guys like this sort of content. Tango Down says outstream vid. Yes, I will do that. In fact, I forgot to do it last night, but yeah, that stream intro is supposed to be played once at the beginning and once at the end. So I'll play that again for you guys here, and then I'll be switching over to the 24/7 cam feed, which will need to be a little bit refreshed here. I'm going to get some cameras refreshed on that for you guys, so don't worry. I'll get to that here after I'm done with this report. Again, you guys can find stream links in the description below. New reports every weekday night, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 4 a.m. Kiev time to 6 a.m. Kiev time. Of course, you can always find out when I'm going live. I not only post on the YouTube channel community section, but I also post on the announcements channel on the Discord when we're going to be going live. Sometimes I hop in for random reports and I announce it over there on the Discord, for random streams and stuff. So keep an eye on that over there. It's the best way to know when we're going to be going live with something or when we're going to be uploading a video. Again, for those that want to catch this report that maybe missed it, best place to do that is to find it when it's uploaded to the YouTube video when it's done. So again, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this evening for April 19th of 2022. We'll be back again tomorrow. And until next time, guys, thank you for tuning in. You've been watching Nemico Network.
Something that will change our daily lives, that will change history, 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 that will change history. That will be the most beautiful day.